You guys want to sit down, please? Good evening and welcome to Thorold City Council. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the last meeting of this term of office. Congratulations, everybody. We made it. I'll call for the adoption of the agenda, moved by Councillor Whalen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Wilson, that the council adopt the agenda as published on November 15, 2018, and any and all revisions published November 20, 2018.
All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And I'll move right into my mayor's report. On behalf of City Council, staff, and our residents, I would like to thank the Thorold Royal Canadian Legion and Canadian Corps for hosting this year's Remembrance Day ceremony in Memorial Park. There was a huge turnout for the beautiful ceremony as we paid our respect and honor to the men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to our country. This Saturday, the Santa Claus Parade will be held at 4 p.m. The parade is jam-packed, so get there early to enjoy the music, the floats, and to catch a glimpse of Old St. Nick. Residents are reminded that the parade route will be closed at 1 p.m. and there will be no parking along Sullivan Avenue on Front Street for the duration of the parade. Dog owners, this is a reminder that 219 dog licenses are available for purchase at thorold.docupet.com. You can purchase your licenses before December 31st of this year to avoid late registration fees. As I stated before, this meeting is the last of this term of council. The inaugural meeting of the 2018 to 2022 term of council will be held on Tuesday, December 4th. I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you to city staff and the departing members of council. It has been a pleasure working with you as mayor over the last 8 years. I look forward to watching this amazing city continue to grow and flourish. I'd like to take a moment to first of all thank, I think I'll do this from my heart. Thank you, staff and council. Council, we achieved a lot this term together, a lot. I just look in the last 4 or 5 meetings, how many projects went out to tender, and I've never seen anything like it in my 18 years on council. And that is a tribute to staff. I really can't say enough, can't thank you enough, can't basically say thank you, Manoj.
Thank you.
You've brought a whole new concept to managing the city of Thorold, and it's been tremendously successful. A lot of ups and downs, a lot of difficult decisions. Madam Clerk, you've been fantastic. A fantastic person to work with. Your hard work. Every day you're in here, you work your back off for the city of Thorold. I wasn't going to say that. Yeah. Everybody, you've been tremendous contributors. I can't thank you enough because this city has grown, and it's grown because of city staff and this council. I'm proud of the accomplishments we've all made together. We all made together. I'm proud to be able to go out in the streets today and say, my city is growing like crazy, like you won't believe. You know, and I love making this, taking this little snapshot of our city, how we're growing. And when you look 3 years ago, we brought in we probably averaged about 70 building permits annually prior to that. 2017, we brought in 400 plus. This year, 2018, we're at 600 plus. That is amazing growth. And as a mayor that's always stated, I'm pro-growth. I want my city to grow. I want my city to grow because that's the only way we will survive if we have to grow. There's a lot more I could say. But I'll end this by saying I've always said that I wanted Thorold to be the best place to live and work and play. And I think over the years, over the last 4 years especially, I think we're there. We have a great community, a great city. I'm turning the gavel over to you, Your Worship, in a few weeks. No, that's mine. I made that. No. And I firmly believe, everybody, that, ladies and gentlemen, that we live in a phenomenal community, just an absolutely great community. I'm proud to have served with you, all of you. I'm proud of staff, really proud of staff and your accomplishments over the last 4 years have been phenomenal. And I'm going to leave it at that, or I may start crying, and I don't cry much. Okay. Thank you, and I'll move on with the agenda. And that concludes my mayor's report. And we do not have a regional councilor update, and I'll call for the adoption of the minutes. Moved by Councillor Whalen again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Hanley, that the regular council meeting minutes of November the 6th, 2018 be hereby adopted.
Just after the presentation.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Councilors, are any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, I'll move on. We have no public meetings tonight and no civic recognition. And there's one presentation by Dan Peltier, Executive Director, Thorold Community Activities Group, the TCAG. Welcome, Dan. Yes, you can.
Mayor Luciani, members of council, we at the TCAG wanted to acknowledge the end of your term as mayor with our thanks. I've got with me Councillor-elect Decker, who's of course also a past member of our board and fundraising volunteer. She can't get away from us. So I can't speak to your first term, but in the last term I can personally say that we've flourished and grown. We value the relationship, and we appreciate the support that we've received from you and your council. So we have in a bag that really captures your youthful spirit, something that I'll read. We can give that to you at the end. It's just thank you for your support to the TCAG, Mayor of Thorold, 2010, 2018, Thorold Community Activities Group, and you spoke at our AGM March 22nd, 2017.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that.
I'm just going to, while I'm up here, I'll just take a minute also to acknowledge how much we value the relationship between a community organization and the city. I look around at this council and I see past board members, 2 or 3. I see event volunteers, and along with Councilor-elect Sentence and Councilor-elect Decker, we're proud to see past board members who cut their teeth in the governance process at organizations like the TCAG, working with us, giving us leadership as staff, come on to take the reins at the city. And we want to wish you and retiring Councilors Sharon, Payon, and Wilson, I believe, all the best as you return to civilian life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. I can't thank you enough for that. I really appreciate this. Thank you very much.
Do you want one of these?
No.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'll give you.
Nice to-
No.
Thanks, Ted.
Okay, okay, thank you very much for that. I'm going to go back to my mayor's report and finish off what I wanted to say. I had the pleasure of working with a number of people in my office, and I really want to say thank you to Ginger Derusi for her work in my office, keeping me on the straight and narrow, keeping me, making sure I don't miss meetings, and just overall having a good time, because she is a hoot. She brought tremendous professionalism to the mayor's office when we needed her to move on into other areas to cover for management, certain management positions. She came in, she was an all-star. She was a champion for the 3 years she served with me. I can't thank her enough. And I see Tracy Jennings is in the chamber tonight. She always came in, and when we needed her, she came in and pitch hit. She was a great resource. Tracy, I can't thank you enough. And Ginger, if you're watching this, thank you very much for everything. You're a champion. Okay. Okay, at this time, I need a motion to go in camera. Councilor Ugolini. All those in favor? I don't think we'll be long in camera. Please be patient with us. Back to order, and we're in camera. We're into motions for support, and we have none. Statements by councilors. And first counselor up is Counselor Sharon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Like yourself, I would just like to say a few words.
We're
This being my last.
We're still in general council. You have to stand up.
Oh yes, the beginning. At the end, I learned how to do this properly.
Absolutely.
It's only been 4 terms, and I finally learned how to do it properly. Yeah. It's extremely important to recognize the people who make it possible for us to do the job that we do here. First of all, I want to say to senior staff, thank you very much for everything that you've done over the years. There's a lot of new faces sitting here that I've just got to know, and a lot of people who I'd like to have here or from years past, so the 4 terms that I've been on council, because they all made a major difference in what I was able to do. So to the senior staff, thank you very much. As I said, you make it possible for this council to work and work successfully. When I get a call from a person who lives in the city of Thorold, the first call I make is to the correct senior staff member, so that being a councilor, I have an answer for the person who has called me originally. And always during the 4 terms of in council, I've got an answer that I can give to that person. And I've got someone on the other end who's quite willing to talk to that person on our behalf. So I want to thank senior staff for everything they've done over the years. I also want to say a few words to the people who are leaving. Ted, for what you've done for the 18 years that you've been involved here. Is something very special, and I'm sure something that you'll hold dear to your heart, because it's important to know you've done a good job. To Schmon, who you and I have shared this chamber for a long period of time, and it's really nice to go out with people that I respect and really do know have done a great job for the city. And I'm pleased that you're the person, not because we're leaving, but because we have worked together during that period of time. And Serge as well. I didn't know Serge very well until we hit Thorold Secondary School review. And we got to know each other exceptionally well. And we spent a lot of time talking about the importance of Thorold Secondary School in this community and not losing that building and that institution. And it was very successfully kept in this community because of the great work he did and the other people who were on that committee. For the councilors who stay behind, the newly elected mayor, I wish you the very best. You've had a great 4 years here as a councilor, and I'm sure you're going to do a wonderful job as mayor of this city. And I look forward to seeing the city develop as you develop in your role as mayor in this community. I know you're going to do a great job, Terry. Tim, regional councilor, this is going to be a new job for you as well. I've enjoyed the years that we've had together, and the times that we've helped each other through the BIA and other areas to make sure that we were doing our job properly, and I wish you the very best of luck. To Anthony and Fred, who's not here, and to Jim, who are staying behind, you got a big job in front of you. You got 5 other people to take care of and to show exactly how this all works, but I know you'll do an excellent job in doing that. As my wife said on the way out the door, are you ready to say these things? Are you ready to give your feelings out here? Yeah, the answer is yes. You people work great. This city is a wonderful community to live. My kids grew up here. My kids have benefited from being here, from all of the city, what the city does give. But the great challenge now is the growth of the city and how we're going to get bigger and better. And I know with the hard work of staff and the new council, that's going to happen. Have a great 4 years to every one of you, and to the rest of us, enjoy your retirement. I know you're going to have a great time.
Okay, I've Councillor Hanley, and we're adding Serge. I'm going to open this up to anybody who wants to speak after Councillor. After you're speaking, if you have anything else to say, by all means, after this issue.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, what I want to speak about tonight is that on March the 6th, we had a council meeting here in the council chambers where I had brought and I expressed concern with renovations that we're going to be undertaking at Station 1. At that time, it was noted that any renovations that were to take or were going to proceed there would not proceed, and that nothing would be done in the upstairs area of Station 1. In fact, we passed a motion that night that stated that I put forward and was seconded by Councillor Neal. First, that the meeting scheduled for March 7th, 2018 between Protection Hose Company number 1 not proceed with renovations. And secondly, we passed the motion here at Council that the manager of community services be directed to prepare a comprehensive report for potential uses of the second floor of Fire Station number 1, including all costs and risks associated. Even though we had put that motion forward, Mr. Mayor, recently the professional firefighters, obviously with the permission of the chief, have taken upon themselves to go to the second floor of the station, which you remember, Mr. Mayor, you in fact had stated to stay out of there.
Yes, I did.
They proceeded to take down pictures that belonged to the association and put them to the wayside. They took down certifications that were there on the walls and put them by the wayside. They moved their pop machine, they moved their tables, they moved their chairs. No need for it, Mr. Mayor. Again, staff has given direction to a specific department, the chief, and he has not heeded the request by council. He's overstepped his boundaries again, as far as I'm concerned, and taken it upon himself to do what he felt was best for the fire services after this council had passed a motion to stay out of the upstairs. To me, Mr. Mayor, there is no excuse for it. Mr. Mayor, it was noted that the district chief was to come forward at the district meeting on November 7th and ask if the association would in fact be inclined to allow this to occur. And it was turned down unanimously. The association said no. But yet, Mr. Mayor, renovations have occurred at Station 1. Washrooms have now been banned. In fact, the volunteer firefighters are not allowed to use the washrooms in the first floor, that they have to use the washrooms on the second floor, I've been told, by the members as being an association member. That they're off limits to them and they have to use the washrooms on the second floor of the facility where their association office is. Well, we have no janitors at the fire hall. So the washrooms aren't in the upkept situation that they should be. But regardless of that, that's discrimination when we tell our volunteers that they are not allowed to use a washroom facility that the full-time firefighters have access to. We all are employees of the city of Thorold, and this should not be occurring. There's no excuse why, because even if construction was going on the front of this fire hall and towpath, it had been noted that they moved the weightlifting equipment to the second floor so that they could put pump 1 at the rear of the fire hall so that they could exit out the rear of the fire hall to have access to a fire call if by case towpath was blocked. Well, if that was the case, if you move the pumper from the front of the hall to the back of the hall so it can have access out the back, then you move the weight equipment from the back of the hall to the front of the hall. We have empty space there. We voted to buy a $1.3 million aerial, which is going to end up at Station 4, and a new aerial, which is going up in Station 2, so only creating more space. And this is not to be a public parking lot for city administrative staff vehicles. No staff parks their vehicles inside. And if I'm saying this because if this was the intention so he could park his new vehicle inside, no. No other staff has the capability of coming here who takes home a city vehicle and to park it inside. So there's no reasons whatsoever why they had gone upstairs and done what this council had asked not to be done. Stay out of the upstairs. They go up there. They have no respect as far as I'm concerned. And the chief should not have done what you did if you were the one to give the authorization. That's shown total disrespect, and to me it's systematically demoralizing the volunteer firefighters, and there's no communications between the association and the chief whatsoever with station number 1. And station 1, 2, 3, and 4 all have associations. Again, this council's requested something to come forward from council through this department, and again, our requests are neglected, ignored.
1 minute.
1 minute. Therefore, I want to put a motion on, Mr. Mayor, seeing that council passed the motion of the manager of community service to be directed to prepare a comprehensive report, it was to be status quo, and it hasn't been status quo. He's taken it upon himself to disregard the motion by council. Therefore, if need be, if I need to put a motion forward, which I shouldn't have to, but if need be, a motion forward at this meeting that the weight equipment, which is currently on the 2nd floor, be brought back down to the 1st floor, and that the policy be adhered to and the chief adhered to what the council's wishes were on March 6th. It's getting utterly ridiculous as far as I'm concerned, where one feels that he overrides the authority of this council and does whatever he wants. And I think it's time that it ended, so I put a motion forward that the weight equipment that is currently on Station 2, after being advised by this council, be removed immediately. And the pop machine be put back where it was, the pictures be put back on the walls, the association certificates be put back on the walls, their chairs and tables be moved back to where they are, so that they again can enjoy the
Councillor, your
facility.
minute's up.
Okay, so there, I want that motion because it's adamant that I would have to come here continuously to do this. It shouldn't be occurring. So motion on the floor.
You need a seconder.
Seconder? Sean Wilson seconds it. That the weight room be immediately removed as per council's wishes on March 6, 2018.
Jeez.
And no work be done until a comprehensive report for potential uses of the 2nd floor of Fire Station number 1, including all costs and risks associated, is presented to council.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Speakers to the motion. Councillor Ugolini.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, do we need a motion? If there was already a motion and we were expecting a report, shouldn't we not revert back to what happened back at the last meeting?
Yeah. Madam Clerk?
I would maintain the motion on the floor, just because it is a different set of situations now where there are items up on the 2nd floor. So if you want them removed, I would keep the motion on the floor.
Any other speakers? Chief, I'll allow you to speak to the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. First of all, in terms of any renovations or construction, there's been none of that has taken place at Station 1 at this time, with the exception of obviously the outdoors, which is currently under extensive renovations outside. In fact, we have lost 2 operational bays and we only exist with 1 bay at this time. That bay is a double bay, since we did relocate the gym equipment from the 1st floor to the 2nd floor to accommodate 2 trucks, so that we're not totally leaving that city vulnerable in terms of fire protection. But I want to speak to something that's much more at heart and very disconcerting, and it needs to be addressed clearly here. That is, there is no action on my part that has not been done in consultation with the members of the association. I have in front of me here, and I'm happy to circulate to everyone, I didn't have time to print it off, a letter from the vice president of their association and the secretary of their association outlining that we had a meeting in person together on November 8th discussing the relocation of the gym equipment based on an operational need for the fire department. It's clear, it's in writing from them that we had done this. They had specified the area and the building that was going to be relocated. This was a decision that was accepted by them, put forth by them, some conditions. They removed all the pictures and decorations in the station to accommodate this. They realized that we're going to lose the ability to respond out of that station, out of that bay, unless we took drastic action. And we needed it. Drastic times called for drastic action. We're not going to leave that city, that end of the city, which is our #1 call volume in the city, empty. And we have taken unusual circumstances. We have 2 vehicles running out of 1 bay that we've never had before, but we needed to facilitate the emergency service needs of the community. There has been no construction again. to say that there's been disregard for the association is an absolute bold-faced lie that I take exception to. I have it in writing from their association, from their vice president and their secretary. I did all this above board and consulted them. I'm as sympathetic to them as anyone else. But unfortunately, the need for the construction going on out front, we needed to take these actions. And lastly, I do want to address the washroom issue. And again, a little bit of truth is dangerous. Yes, no one is to use the washroom on the first floor in one particular area because we never had an administrative assistant in that area before, and guys were going into the washroom. That was one washroom. It wasn't a male-female washroom because there was no female administrative assistant there. There is now. So all members, regardless of your full-time paid or if you're the chief, you do not use that washroom. That washroom is for females only. That is the new change. And I think it's acceptable based on her working there and other females in the station.
Well, I could add on that note, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Chief, do the full-time firefighters have a washroom downstairs, or do they have to go upstairs?
They have one upstairs and downstairs, as do all
members. No, I just asked you, did they have a washroom downstairs?
As do all members.
Okay.
As do all members. There's a male washroom downstairs, and there's a female washroom downstairs.
When a firefighter, volunteer firefighter needs to use the washroom facility, they have to go upstairs. If there's a washroom downstairs that's used by full-times, why can't our volunteers use it? Also, yes, you may have received a letter from the two executives member, but it went in front of the board. It went in front of the association because the two individuals of the association were governed by a president, a vice president, a secretary. That may have been presented to them, but when it was brought forward to the association on November 7th, the association unanimously turned it down. And it was noted then that the district chief was to forward that information to the chief, that the association was not in favor of them going upstairs. Like any board, the board themselves do not have the authority, the executive. It has to be brought in front of the directors. And that's what had happened on November the 7th. And it was turned down unanimously. So even though 2 or 3 individuals may have sent the chief a letter saying that they had no problems with it, it was known that it had to be brought before the board. And if we want to start going through emails and information, I got some too. But the bottom line is this here. They did not have the executive authority themselves to give the okay. It had to be brought in front of the association first, which it was on November the 7th, and the association voted unanimously against it. Therefore, the equipment should be moved. Mr. Mayor, those bays downstairs, we only bought one piece of equipment. Think about it. The equipment down there is the same as it's always been. For 8 months it was good, and then all of a sudden in 2 weeks, we had to move upstairs. Think about it, council. We're getting rid of an aerial truck and sending it to Station 4. That's going to give us more space because the aerial truck that was there, the new one's going to Station 2. We're going to have more space than we ever did before. That's the truth of the matter. Nothing's changed. We only bought one piece of equipment, not 2 or 3 to fill up all the bays. So, as far as that's concerned, that's hogwash. We got more space downstairs than we ever had. I want my motion to go forward.
I'm calling the question.
I'd just like to address one quick thing, and I think it's very important.
All right.
The aerial may have moved out of the Station 1 and will be relocated. There is a truck moving in the very next day into Station 1. We are not depleting Station 1. There is always and will always be 3 trucks in Station 1. It is being replaced instantly. And that's already been discussed with everybody.
The discussion is over.
Well, in the 8 months it
I'm
was
calling
still
the
there
question.
too.
There's a motion on the floor. Madam Clerk, could you please read the motion?
The motion on the floor is that the weight equipment on the second floor of Station 1 be removed immediately, and everything that was previously in that space be reinstated, and that no work be done until a comprehensive report comes forward.
That's the motion on the floor. I'm calling the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Okay. We're moving on. We have a third speaker, and it's Councillor Longo, Thorold Municipal Nonprofit Housing Corporation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll try to stay under the 3 minutes. I have prepared written comments here because I want to make sure I'm accurate. Mr. Mayor and councillors, this evening I would like to make a statement regarding Thorold Municipal Nonprofit Housing Corporation. I've received numerous calls in the last few months from concerned residents of Thorold Municipal Nonprofit Housing Corporation units and from other citizens of Thorold who question the openness, transparency, and motives of the board. Residents tell me they are concerned with the lack of communication coming from Thorold Nonprofit Housing Board and about the possible threat to their current living arrangements. I would first like to begin with a brief overview of Thorold Municipal Nonprofit Housing Corporation so that citizens are aware of what this corporation does and its current governance model. Thorold Municipal Non-Housing Profit Corporation is a nonprofit entity that is not directly tied to the city of Thorold. Although the name implies ownership by the municipality of Thorold, the only influence the city has is in naming the new board members every 4 years to coincide with the new term of council. 2 of the 7 board members are currently members of Thorold City Council. The corporation is a nonprofit provider of subsidized housing for citizens of Niagara who rely on government assistance and support for their basic needs of shelter. Thorold Nonprofit Housing does receive substantial funding. It does receive substantial funding for its operation through higher levels of government and your tax dollars. The first issue brought to my attention came to light earlier in 2018. At that time, a letter dated February 28, 2018, informed the clients of Romney Crescent that their rent would revert to market rents effective August 1st, 2018. And after that time, Thorold Nonprofit Housing was intent on selling the units. And I use the word intent because that's what they said. As you can imagine, this news caused great anxiety and concern for the residents. Trying to understand and get more clarification, I had asked through this council that the mayor request the chair of nonprofit housing attend an open meeting of council so as to explain and clarify any possible misunderstanding. The board refused our request to meet in an open and transparent manner, citing confidentiality reasons. At that point, contact was made with our current regional councillor, D'Angela, and local area MPP to see if some assistance could be provided. With their assistance of numerous calls, emails, and meetings, the decision to not sell the properties was agreed to by Thorold Nonprofit Housing Corporation. A 1-year extension of the current contract with Niagara Regional Housing was accepted. Just to be clear, a multi-year extension was offered, but it was declined. They only went with a 1-year extension. So what happens after that 1-year extension is anyone's guess, and the current residents I've spoken to are concerned that they could again receive a letter in the new year and possibly be homeless in 2019. And I'm not being dramatic. These people live in subsidized housing. Some pay as little as $100 a month for rent geared to income. They would be without a home. So now that the residents seem to have a 1-year reprieve, another issue was brought to my attention just last week. The issue is a governance issue, and I wanted to make the general public aware and the residents of nonprofit housing units of its implications. On Saturday, November 10th, Thorold Municipal Nonprofit Housing Corporation called a meeting which was not advertised to the public. I'm not sure if it needs to be, but it wasn't. I've been informed of the reason for the meeting was to make changes to the bylaw of the Thorold Nonprofit Housing Corporation. A motion was brought forward at that meeting to remove Thorold City Council's authority to select members of the board of directors and to replace that authority with the current members of the board. Just in case you didn't think you heard me right, I'll read that again. A motion was brought forward at that meeting to remove Thorold City Council's authority in selecting members of the board and replace that authority with the current members of the board. I'm not sure if anybody sees an issue with that governance, but I certainly do.
Counselor, are you bringing a motion forward?
If anybody wants to comment first, I'd be happy to hear them comment.
All right, open the floor to comments. Anybody, any speakers? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to make a brief comment. I thank you to Councilor Longo for summarizing that. I just do want to go on record that I did not vote in favor of removing Thorold City Council's power to appoint. I believe there should be a democratic process under which the board is selected.
Thank you.
Sorry, I state that because I'm one of the 2 council members that's on the board. So that's just for the record. I did not vote in favor of that.
Any other comments? Go ahead, Councillor.
Mr. Mayor, based on my comments, I'd like to put forward a motion, and this motion goes toward this request by Thorold Nonprofit Housing Corporation Board to make these changes. My understanding is that for them to make these changes, they would need to apply to their service manager, and I'll explain what that is. Their service manager is Niagara Regional Housing. So if in fact they need to apply and get consent from Niagara Regional Housing, I would ask, and I'll word the motion now, I would ask that council directs the mayor to contact Niagara Regional Housing, the service manager, to delay a request of consent if made by Thorold Municipal Nonprofit Housing Corporation to change its letters of patent and or corporate bylaws until Thorold City Council can investigate and debate the merits of such changes and forward such comments and suggestions to the Niagara Regional Housing Service Manager.
Okay. Speakers to the motion, Councillor Hanley, then Councillor Pion.
I would just state that I would support the motion that Councillor Longo has put forward.
You're seconding it?
I'll second the motion. I do believe that we need to do, just as he has stated here tonight, that what is occurring here isn't democratic, and that we should take a seriously look into it and do as requested, have the service provider notified of such.
Mm-hmm. Councillor Pion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too will support the motion. As I stated earlier, I did not support the direction in which the board wants to head, which is to remove Thorold City Council's power to appoint. When I volunteered to be on this board 4 years ago, I did so because I believe in providing low-income nonprofit housing to the people of Thorold who need it. And I think there should be a mechanism under which those people can also seek some sort of clear answers and talk to a board that answers to someone. And they may not answer to Thorold Council after they are appointed, but at least the appointing process provides a mechanism under which the board is selected in a democratic way. So I will support the motion.
Any other speakers? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. Councillor Whalen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On another subject, I'd like to say a few words.
Yeah, I'll open the floor to any councillor that has a few words to say. This is our last day together. By all means, go ahead.
In the same vein as yourself and Councillor Sharon, I just want to thank the public for giving me the opportunity to work with you all in the last 15 years. It's been great. Hopefully I've had something added to the city, and the staff, again, were fantastic, the present as well as past, and so thank you to everybody.
Thank you. Councillor Pion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also would like to thank, first and foremost, the people of Thorold who gave me the opportunity to be here for 8 years. It's been an honor to represent you on council. And also, this council has been amazing to work with. It's been a pleasure. It doesn't mean we've always agreed. But when we disagreed, we had good, healthy debates. And that's fine. That's what democracy is all about. And it's been a pleasure to serve with this council. I also want to thank staff. I'll be the first to admit council would be nowhere without the guidance of staff. The reports were always very informative, and like Councillor Sharon said before, If I had a call from a member of the public who needed something, I always knew who to go to, and they always provided exactly what was needed so I can give an answer. And that made my job a lot easier, and it's been a pleasure to work with you. I can't fully remove my hand from it. I'm just, I can't completely, if I have extra time, I fill it with something, so I will be putting my name forward for several committees, and I look forward to volunteering on those committees.
Councillor Hanley.
I would just like to, also I'd like to thank Serge. It's been great serving with you as a council. You've got great insight and you give a different aspect, I can honestly tell you, to an open dialogue and an open discussion. You really go over things and you look at them both ways. I really appreciated that. And like you say, we may not have agreed. Mr. Sharon, Mike Sharon, never got to be my principal, but close. I got out just in time. But you were always a pleasure to be with. We've had a good time together. You know, I've been on council now first since in 1996, on and off, but it's been a pleasure serving with you, I must say. No doubt about it. You've done great for the city and that stuff with your cancer runs and everything for the Terry Fox. I know you'll continue with that. You'll continue to be a great part of the city, and enjoy your retirement, enjoy your vacations. And Sean, you've been a great member too to sit with, and all the years that we sat on council. I was here when you first got elected at council, so we sat together on twice and 2 different times, on and off, but it's been a pleasure serving with you and that stuff. And I know that now your wife, Victoria Wilson, will be sitting there, possibly in that seat, so we'll still get the same Wilson intellect that we always did and that stuff, just coming from a different aspect. So it's been a pleasure working with all my fellow councillors who will no longer be here in the next term. It has been greatly appreciated.
Councillor Ugolini.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. This has been a great council, like you mentioned earlier, and very progressive, and I think we accomplished a lot in the last 4 years. And moving forward, we're going to have another good council, and we have a good role model to work off moving forward. I want to personally thank you, Mayor Luciani, for the job you've done, not only this term, but in all the years you've served this great city. Councillor Payon as well, and it's good to see that you're going to be serving on some of our committees, because we could definitely use your input. Councillor Sharon, tremendous resource. So we'll be knocking on your door and asking questions and getting your input, because you always have a great vision, and I think that before you speak, it's well thought out, and I appreciate that. And Councillor Wilson, appreciate working with you. He's my next door neighbor, so we can sit and have a little conversations and go over things, and I definitely, it's been great working with you as well, all of you. The ones coming back, it's going to be great to continue working with Councillor Longo, Councillor Hanley, and Councillor Neal, who's not here tonight, and Councillor Whalen will be working together, not only when you report here to council, but at the region, and I look forward to that as well. So thank you, everyone. City staff, I can't wait to work with all of you, because you've been great, and we'll continue to move forward and work together moving forward. But again, Mayor Luciani, thanks for everything.
Councillor Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief. I'm a little winded from before. But anyways, I would just like to echo the sentiments of most councillors here. Made some great friendships, people I didn't really know in the last few years. It was great to make those friendships, understand people, which I think is important. Realize that we all don't agree at all times, but this group really seemed to respect each other, along with staff. There was great mutual admiration, respect, and I'd like to personally thank everybody for the knowledge I've gained, because that's what I tell people, what I get most out of council. Learning about governance, learning about your community and how to make it better. And I just, and I know the next council with a group of people there will continue on and do the same thing. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
Anybody else? Councillor Wilson, you want to say that? Yeah. Cool. Okay. We'll move on. Okay, I need, okay, Move into council committee and board meeting minutes. Minutes to review for information purposes. Councillor Ugolini.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Whalen, that council receive and file the minutes of the committees of council and local boards as presented.
All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. I'd like to resolve into general committee. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And councilors, are there any conflicts of interest? Seeing none, we have no delegations. And I'll call for reports to be brought forward from consent. Motion to move reports on consent. Can I get a motion to move consent items, Councillor Hanley?
So moved.
Are there any comments on these consent items? Anything to be pulled? Thank you. I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. That's pulled? Oh, so we have no discussion reports at all.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the discussion report, the CAO report, is being deferred to December 18th as we're still in a lame duck council. So that report will come forward at that time.
Okay, we'll go with motions arising from in-camera session. There's nothing there. Motion to ratify recommendations for general committee. Councillor Pion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Sharon, that council adopt those items approved by the general committee on November 20th, 2018.
All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Bylaws, first reading. Councillor Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Wilson, that leave be given to introduce the following bylaws. Bylaw number 115, 2018, bylaw 116, 2018, bylaw 117, 2018, bylaw 118, 2018, bylaw 119, 2018, and that the same now be read a first time.
All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Sharon, that the bylaws just read a first time be read a second and third time and do pass, and that the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same. Any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding.
All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Before we adjourn, most of us are going to Cracker Jack's for a few refreshments after that. Oh, after this, you're all invited. Please join us, staff and councilors. Okay, adjournment moved by Councillor Sharon. What? Hold on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is quite appropriate that I should be reading.
Hold on.
No, I won't.
We did them already.
Okay. Go ahead, Mike. Mike, you can go ahead now.
Oh, okay, thank you. I know you're trying to confuse me in my last seconds here. Here we go again. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Payon, that this meeting is hereby adjourned at 8:15.
Thank you very much, and that's a wrap for this term of council. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Pleasure working with all of you.